Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday, and welcome to episode 525 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast, where tonight we're going to be talking about movies, of course, box office facts, about films like Terrifier 3 doing insanely well, but also in a special way about The Wild Robot, because there's still a couple people that have a lot of doubts about just how successful The Wild Robot has ultimately been. And so I hope to dispel any of the black pilling on that movie that has been out there, because the facts still remain the facts. And the facts are the film has essentially doubled what it's made after the first 2 weeks of its release, which means, according to my charts, it will be a chart breaker. So we will talk about that tonight, and also giving some thoughts about The Penguin, which is still ongoing, and Tulsa King, another show also ongoing right now, and both of them are solid, to put it simply. So we'll talk a little bit about our thoughts on those shows and a plethora of other things, especially the things that you bring up. But before going any further, though, please make sure y'all smash that like button. Live that fire button over, and honestly smash the button as well. And also to all of the people watching over on X/Twitter, we are live over there as well, and I do have the chat integrated, so I will get to y'all's comments as they come in. I've already seen Hector Lucero hanging out over there, so I can highlight your comments. So thank you for hanging out, and you guys are awesome. Thank y'all very much for hanging out this evening. Let's go ahead and head over into the chat to talk to some people. Apparently, Laura, the Modern Major General, has timed somebody out by accident. Or was it? Or was it an accident? Oh, goodness. All right, let's get into the chat, though. At 5:46 p.m., Kikane Rumsky got things started pretty early, saying, I have to make some calls tonight, so I might be late or absent. Be strong for all of us? Well, at least we won't have to bear with any of the nonsense about the Meg 2. And funny enough, someone sent me something the other day about how apparently the Meg 3 has been confirmed, that they are actually making a Meg 3. Goodness gracious. Kikane Rumsky's birthday, essentially. It's Christmas in Kikane Rumsky's world, if that is indeed the case. We got the Bear with Orange Chat modding tonight. Thank you very much for being here, good sir. He will lay the hammer down if you do not follow the rules. All that we ask for is that you be nice and respectful to the other people in the chat. Gary, Mr. 50% himself, Gary 50% Banjo Sandwich Worthington, saying, I'm loving The Penguin and I liked The Wild Robot. Both have been fantastic. Wild Robot was a phenomenal movie, and The Penguin is a solid show so far. We got Snorter Poopus Cuber. Hello, humans and other quitters. Orange Hat, thank you for correcting me. That's right. He has a mighty axe. He will lay down his mighty axe. I had hammer on the mind for some reason. Snorter Poopus saying, hello to you. Thank you for being here. We got Laura, the Modern Major General, Shorty Short, hanging out saying, at the NC County Fair, might have to watch the stream later. Apparently already coming in and timing out people by mistake. Oh, it's all good. It is all good. Also, by NC County, I was very confused for a moment because I'm like, wait, what are you doing in North Carolina? And I was like, if you're nearby, let me know. Glad to see you in the chat, though. Wendy Hunter. Wendy! What's up, Wendy? Thank you for being here. Always great to see you. We got Keely Chow hanging out also, asking, how are you, Thor, Freya, and Baby Sif doing? Everyone is doing swimmingly. So thank you very much for asking. All right. Luckily, all those comments have been caught up, and so now I can jump back into the live chat over here in my Prism. Prism's working okay today. I remember to turn the VPN off before the stream started, so not to have the same issues we've had last week and a couple weeks before that. And also, Heimdall is working, so hey, things are going okay so far. And now that I've said that, everything will go to heck in a handbasket. But again, Wendy, thank you for hanging out this evening. Keely Chow, thank you for hanging out also. And let's go ahead and see who else is here. Let's see. Short saying, hanging out while the fam goes to see the state's largest pumpkin. The largest pumpkin. Well, that's a lot of fun. Everyone loves pumpkins, right? Baby Thor is a big fan of pumpkins. Jimmy A, who is a member here on the channel over on YouTube. Thank you very much, Jimmy A, for being here. Hail, chat, and Odin. Hail to you. Thanatos Felicitas says, hello from Deja Vu. Well, hello. At 7:36 p.m. It's 7:50 p.m. as of the reading of that comment right there. Thank you for being here. Laura saying hello to the people. Jimmy A saying hello. JS Pena saying ahoy, ahoy to you. Duncan Blackthorn at 742. I got here early today. Duncan Blackthorn, thank you for being here, good sir. Always glad to have you here. Mr. Wingster, one of the members here, putting one of the things. I need to actually get the new McDonald's Orange Man thing going on as far as my emotes are concerned, because that thing is seriously, no matter what side of that whole political nonsense that you fall onto, no one can deny that those are some of the most iconic political photos that have ever occurred in modern history. It's kind of crazy that we're living in that time right now, isn't it? There is Hector Lucero. What's going on, Hector? Again, thank you for watching over on X. I guess I'll just call it X. I don't want to give into that, but at the same time, Elon Musk has been doing so many amazing things with the platform. It's like I almost feel like, you know what, you kind of earned me calling it X, but I still like to call it X/Twitter or Twitter/X. GMuggis86, hello to you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Lex Ludendi hanging out as a member. What's going on, Lex Ludendi? Saying ahoy, ahoy to you. Thank you for being here. Laura giving the oops. JS Pena tagging to say, just curious, when is the next Christian panel with Carrie Smith? Funny you should ask. It is this week on Wednesday over on Carrie Smith's channel. Program with Carrie Smith channel on YouTube. We will be live over there for our Christian panel, talking about, of course, what's going on in the next couple of weeks, as we have an election here in the United States coming up in a couple of weeks. And so we'll be talking about basically the mindset of voting as a Christian, whether or not there is a moral necessity when it comes to voting, like all of the things related to Christianity and voting in elections in a general sense. So not meant to be a campaign for anything other than just speaking to, of course, our Christian faith in the context of elections. So it should be a pretty good discussion, because I will say right now, I probably have a lot of differing opinions than many of my co-hosts on that panel. Because as you all know, I always pride myself on being not only very proudly traditionally Catholic, but also independent politically as well. I don't really, it might seem like this on social media. If you follow my account, you might say, man, you must be supporting X, Y, or Z. It's like, you really honestly don't know. And that's kind of the point of it, right? I don't really have one specific person that I'm drawn to. There's a lot of things I like about certain people, but there's also a lot of things that I don't like as well. And ultimately, I try to allow my faith to guide me in all of those things. So you'll probably hear some differing opinions on that. For me tomorrow, at least. Snow Golem hanging out over on Odyssey, holding down the fort over there. Thank you for being here. Mr. Wingster at 746 saying, but is it better than Kung Fu Panda 4? This is the real question. Which one are we speaking about here? Are we speaking about the Penguin? Are we speaking about, as far as animated films, The Wild Robot? Did not see Kung Fu Panda 4, but just the name Kung Fu Panda 4 tells me all that I really need to know about the movie, and I just don't have any interest in watching it. So based on that alone, I would say probably. It's the animation alone, I will say. Objectively speaking, the Wild Robot's animation is beautiful. Let's see. Laura saying, don't drink and mod. This is very, very true. Gary Banjo Sandwich, who is a part of the army of Asgard. 144 hours watch. Boom. Heimdall is working tonight. If you don't know who Heimdall is, every time you watch a stream over on YouTube, you get cookies. They're free digital cookies for all the time you watch here the streams. And every now and then we will do giveaways of Blu-rays, 4Ks, things like that. So you don't have to worry about paying anything. I try to give away things because if you are going to dedicate your time, especially a lot of your time to watching these streams, I want to try to give something back when I can. And no plans for that tonight, but definitely in the near future. Laura apologizing to timing out the person. Mr. Wingster, I drink and skate, he says. Wow, Mr. Wingster. If there's anything else that's as dangerous a combination of anything, it is to skate and to drink. Man, be careful. Be careful. Hector Lucero with the woo, hands up. Thank you again for watching over there. Letting me know that the X stream works. Jeremy Sikowski, what's going on, brother? Saying, evening Odin, got any mead on you? This is Asgard, after all. If I actually drink, then I probably would. But I don't drink. I'm straight edge, for those that don't know that about me. So no mead for me. I'm a very boring Viking. I'm a very boring Asgardian false god. Anyway, Wendy Hunter, what? A Meg 3? I saw it mentioned somewhere. And based off of the financials of both of the films, I can see why. I still have no plans on watching it, but is what it is. Orange Chat, there's the correction that it was his mighty axe. Mr. Wingster, axe body spray, Orange Chat. Well, Mr. Wingster, our pet troll, once again, Trolling. J.S. Pena, from what I've heard, they were just going to make 3 Meg movies, which, if that is true, probably best that they stop at 3 because apparently there's a lot of Meg books. Well, you would say that, J.S. Pena, but if you were to ask people like KK and Rumsky, they would say, no, can't stop, never stop, won't stop stopping. Keep on chugging them out. Keep on making them. Why not? As long as people are buying it, right? Obviously, I would disagree. I thought the first Meg was more than enough, but apparently there were enough people that liked the Meg too. The Morak hanging out. What's going on, Morak? Saying, hail. Jimmy A. tagging, let's get Tom Cruise in Meg 3 to rap battle Jason Statham between fighting sharks. That'd be fun. Oh, man. Let's see. Luke Zilla. What's going on, Luke Zilla? Welcome. Rob D. says, hello. Hello, Odin. With the failure of Joker 2, I honestly think that if Superman 2025 flops, the live-action DC film will die. I mean, everything is kind of hinging on that. It's kind of insane when you think about it, right? That when it comes to that Superman movie in 2025 from James Gunn, there is so much riding on it. And it honestly feels like if it is not a huge success, that entire movement, that entire campaign to rebrand and to reestablish that franchise is dead. And I don't think the hopes are too high, to be perfectly frank. You all know, and if you listen to me any length of time, you know I don't think that James Gunn is all that in a bag of chips. Okay, I think that he made a fantastic film in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Volumes 2 and 3 were okay, but not really all that rewatchable, at least not in comparison to that first movie. And everything else that he has made has either been bad or has just been meh. And I know that there's not a lot of people that necessarily agree with my take on that, but I do think that the financials in the box office in many of those cases kind of speaks for that. So yeah, he has to do a lot. And he also has to do a lot of repairing because the brand has been so damaged by the Zack Snyder verse, right? The Snyderverse has really destroyed DC in so many ways. It's done so much damage, right? As that guy says, that's a lot of damage, all right? Need some flex tape, some flex seal, because that's a lot of damage, okay? That's what he needs. He needs to be, Superman 2025 needs to be the flex seal. It needs to be the flex tape of the DC universe, if that's ever going to have any chance of succeeding in the future. So yeah, absolutely. I would say if that film doesn't do it, it's game over for whatever he is trying to start, and it would probably put a dent in basically all their plans going forward. Also, I apologize if there's any issues over on X. Again, this chat, unfortunately, is not perfect, but I saw Hector saying, same here. There's apparently someone else chatting over there. I'm not seeing their comments for some reason. I don't know exactly why. Also, it seems to be posting mine more than once, and so I don't know if that's just on my end or if that's on your end, but if it is reposting, I do apologize if that is the case. I only sent my messages once, so it looks like it's just kind of building upon itself for some reason. Anyway, Jimmy A. over 752 saying, just when anyone thinks it's too late to remember a guy who had a mugshot at McDonald's job is running for president. Dude, seriously, like, it is totally, again, no matter where you might fall politically, there is just no denying just how powerful that imagery is. There's the one image of him waving out of the takeout window. And it's like, that is something that's going to be remembered. And also is being memed to heck. And there's so many reminiscing things here about 2016, right? One of the big things that happened in 2016 was the meme culture surrounding the Orange Man. And that is now happening once again to an insane degree, whether it is the murder attempt against his life, or whether it is now this thing, whether it's the mugshot, right? There are so many iconic photos in this election cycle. It's kind of insane. Nikki D, what is going on? Valiant Renegade, what's up, brother? What's going on, brother? Valiant Renegade, shout out to him. That dude's been rocking it. I remember when there were channels talking box office that were like, man, I love you, you're so awesome, you're great. And now they're like so much more successful than my channel. But I it's always great to see when those that have found the success come back and say hello from time to time. Val Renegade, shout out to you, good sir. Always love the content. I miss you, man. We need to have some talk soon. I miss talking to you. I miss being around you. I'll just leave it at that. Caveat Ties, what's going on, brother? Worth It or Woke Reviews, what's going on? Worth It or Woke? Great website. Hanging out over on X saying, you like to vote around. Yes, indeed. I don't put all of my votes in one basket. Also, I do like to, and this is something I think everyone should do, I like to actually investigate who's on my ballot. So I'm not that person where it's like, oh, you have an R next to your name, you have an I next to your name, you have an L for libertarian next to your name. It's like, no. I want to know who you are. I want to know what you stand for. I want to know what your positions are. Now, there are certain issues as a Catholic that I find more important than anything else. So, for instance, pro-life is very important to me. If you're not at least, close to being 100% pro-life, then the chances of you getting my vote are not very high. And that is, I think, an issue this election cycle because of recent statements made by the current frontrunner. There were some issues that I and many other Christians have with those comments. Now, look, I'm not saying one thing or the other about what that means for my specific vote, but it is something that does matter. I'm not going to be of the mindset where it's like, I'm going to back this person just because. Or, I'm just going to blind myself to the issues that I have. No, I think it's important that we talk about those issues. Regardless of who we vote for, it's important to talk these things through. And so yeah, I always like to look into it, though, especially if there's incumbents that have been around for a long time and I see there are like independents running against them. There's been times when I have voted for independents in local elections because I think it's important to remind, especially when it comes to like local reps, especially local reps where maybe they had a couple of votes that clearly went against either the will of our local community or made votes that were like, really, you're gonna, like, I would say even just beyond the local, right? We talk about this, the House seats here across the states. When I see House members voting for continuing resolutions, that's a problem that I have. And so it's like, yeah, guess what? I'm probably going to vote against you in your primary. And there's a chance that I might even vote against you in the general as well. Because I think it's important that we hold people to account. And the only way that we can do that is by showing you can't just buy our votes because of that little letter next to your name. Laura, shorty short, have a good stream. Have fun storming the castle, one could say. I haven't seen episode 5 of Penguin, so I'll watch this later. And it's the NC State Fair in Raleigh, visiting the fam. Gotta run, sorry again, Forever Sci-Fi. Oh man, it was Forever Sci-Fi that got nuked? Dang. Well, I'm glad it was just a timeout. Oh man, but yes, thank you for being here, Laura. Thanks for stopping by. And I don't plan on doing too many spoilers into the shows, but yes, it is. Let me just say, no real spoilers to the content of the episode, but episode 5 is fantastic. Mr. Wingster, it's okay, Aiden. It's a trick question because Kung Fu Panda 4 is crap. Well, I figured there might be something more going on there, Mr. Wingster. I'm glad that you made the comment, though. Thenoto saying, are the cookies gluten-free? I cannot speak to the health benefits or detriments of my digital cookies. All I can tell you is that they can lead to some nice giveaways. So whether it's good for your own health or not is really your decision. Icthulu, oh goodness. Hot take coming from Icthulu. Icthulu, I feel like you had a hot take a couple weeks ago. I haven't forgotten. But anyway, he says, happy Monday, Odin and chat. Also, Tulsa King is a stupid show. The characters are fun, but Lord is written by people that don't understand reality. Icthulu, it's called having fun. It's called having fun, good sir. The show is so much fun. Honestly, the reason why the show is good is because the characters are so well played by the actors that play them that honestly, I just enjoy them talking to each other. That to me is the best part of Tulsa King. The fact that you have all of these different characters hanging out together, talking about their business, talking about what they're going to do, dealing with these things that happen on a daily basis, it honestly comes across, even if it's not realistic, not being an expert on the whole drug kingpin mafia world, as I have no expertise in this area, it comes across to me as regular everyday guys just having conversations, just hanging out. Like, it comes across as authentic, even if it isn't necessarily historically authentic or whatever, again, whatever the issue you might have with it. But I think it's a fun show. It's a lot of fun. And again, it comes down to the actors and the characters. So if you like having fun, I would recommend Tulsa King, for sure. All right, Kimberly G at 755. Happy Monday, Odin, to mods and the chat. Hail. Snow Golem, drinking and plowing. Good thing I quit drinking years ago. Yes, that sounds terrifying. A snow A snowplower who is under the influence, that just has danger all over it. Forever Sci-Fi, anyone want to bet on the title being Meg with M3G as the spelling? There are definitely some points to be made there, for sure. Worth It or Woke saying there are 6 books in the Meg series. Oh, goodness. Somebody please check the pulse of Kike Rumsky, because even though he told me he was not going to be here for at least the beginning of the show, he had to make some phone calls, some very important phone calls, he said. 6 potential movies. Goodness gracious, please no. Luke Zilla says here, got my 4K of the 2010 Wolfman movie from Shot Factory today. Always enjoyed this remake. Is that the one? Oh my goodness. That's like a throwback. Is that the one that I'm thinking of that has No, wait a minute. You enjoyed that movie? I have not heard, I don't think I've ever heard good things about it. I'm going to be honest. Let's go ahead and pull this up on the screen. So Luke Zilla got the 4K of the 2010 Wolfman. The only thing I remember from this movie, I never actually got to see the movie, okay? The only thing I remember was the trailer, where at one point you have the character being played by Benicio del Toro, who just says, "I will kill all of you." Like, that's all I can remember about this movie was that trailer. Maybe it's one of those cases where the trailer was so garbage, but the movie was actually good. I don't know. Luke Zilla seems to have a lot of faith in this. What are y'all's thoughts? Let me know. We're at 7:56 in the chat, so still about 10 to 12 minutes behind, but we'll get to those comments. Man, I have not thought of that movie in a little bit. I will kill all of you. Kimberly G, is Venom 3 homework for FNT this week? I don't know, to be honest. I think we might be doing our Halloween episode this week, since next week will actually be All Saints Day on November 1st, where we have, so 2 weeks, in 2 weeks we'll have that be the Friday that our show is, and so I honestly can't remember. I feel like we had it initially scheduled to do a dress-up Halloween show on this coming Friday, and then we'll probably, I guess, do something different on All Saints Day. But I don't know. I imagine it'll be a part of our discussion. I don't have a ticket for it right now, but if it becomes homework, I might actually end up going to see it anyway, because even though I don't think they're good movies, it is always fun for me to watch the audience's reaction. Because the times that I've gone to both of the Venom films, there's actually been a decent crowd. And for the most part, it seems people have enjoyed them. I've been kind of laughing like, are you kidding me? But yeah, that's where I stand on that. Westfield 60 just came in to tip $10. Well, thank you very much, Westfield 60. I appreciate the $10 via Streamlabs. Guess what? YouTube doesn't get any of that. So I very much appreciate that, good sir. No message, just Westfield 60. So thank you very much. Very, very generous of you, good sir. Thank you. Let's see. Mr. Wingster says Wolfman 2010 is underrated. Really? Cthulhu, don't understand. Meg 3 will be the cinematic equivalent to Kill a Mockingbird. It'll be theatrical magnificence. Oh, will it really? Will it really? Is that the case? Is that true? Orange Hat saying, DC needs to fail. James Gunn is, well, you know my thoughts and reasons. I do not think he is good for Hollywood. Yes. Those parties that he was a part of, especially when he dressed as a priest and had others dressed as young people. Yeah, let's just say it doesn't send the right message by any means. Worth It or Woke, the super suit doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Yeah, wasn't it a bit saggy? There is someone... One of my students is obsessed with James Gunn, just loves everything about James Gunn, and has been so excited for it. And so every time I've responded with, it doesn't look great, the response is like, what? So there clearly is some excitement. The fact that it's as different as someone in their teens versus an adult, I think that might be the difference. I don't know. But hey, it's a demographic that might be useful when it comes to box office. Luke Zilla, did someone say Meg 3? Oh, goodness. I'm kind of glad that Kincan Rumsky is out for this beginning part. We've been talking about the Meg so much now. I mean, he'd be going crazy over there on the Green Machine. Worth It or Woke saying, Bryan Singer didn't do it any favors. There you go. Let's see. Christoph, the Polish geek. Christoph, I feel like it's been a while, good sir. saying, hey man, what's up, Christoph? Welcome back. Jamie Christopher. What's up, Jamie Christopher? For the first time, I watched The Passion of the Christ this weekend. I mean, talk about powerful. Yes! Love that movie so much. It honestly is one of the most powerful experiences that you can have watching a film. And as someone who watches it now every year, and I teach 6 classes, and so I watch it 6 times every year. Every year there's something new. I find there's a new scene that I kind of linger on in my own meditations, and it is just, you said it right. It's a powerful film. Absolutely. No other films that's really been able to match it in the same way. Christoph the Polish Geek, time to say, have you seen The Prince of Egypt? Speaking of film, I mean, take into account that's a DreamWorks, I believe, animated film, and that they made it, and it takes some liberties with the Old Testament accounting, of course, but the fact that it's a story about the biblical account of the Exodus, specifically of the plagues and everything, and then I don't care what anyone says, Prince of Egypt has the best score of, I think, almost any animated film of that era. And I love the 90s, the 90s would be when you get the movie musicals to a high degree, where you have the Aladdins, the Lion Kings, and things like that. Hercules, underrated in my opinion. Hunchback, probably the most underrated. Like, Hunchback to me has the best score of any of those animated musicals. But Prince of Egypt is definitely up there too. Might even be, it's at an entirely different level. All you need to do, if you've never heard of Prince of Egypt, just listen to the song Deliver Us. And oh my goodness, so good. That and Let My People Go are so good. Val Kilmer as the voice of Moses. Didn't know that he could sing. And I'm not saying that he necessarily can sing, but he does that role a lot of justice. And then you have Ray Fiennes coming in, playing, Ramesses? His brother, also doing a great job. The voice acting, the voice casting for that movie, man. Now you just got me excited, man. Now I just would have watched Prince of Egypt again. Yes, I have seen it, and it's phenomenal. So underrated in many ways. Killy Chow, always having to leave. How dare you? Heartbreak Ridge, who's a member. Hail chat, just got here for a bit before I head to the Y. Well, hey, hope you have a good workout. Mr. Winkster, local elections are very important. Those are the ones to pay attention to. Agreed. Especially as a young father, with my kids, my oldest is getting to the point where he's only about a year and a half out from starting kindergarten. And so, having to really start to pay attention much more to who's getting elected to the local school boards. What are the things they are pushing in those schools? Yeah, these are all questions that have to be asked. Rob D saying, I was 2 hours away from the McDonald's Trump worked at this weekend. Dang. And honestly, I'm just, if I have to hope anything, and I would hope anyone, regardless of your political party, would agree, I honestly just hope for the health and safety of that location. Because that there are crazy people out there that will take that event and the fact that he was allowed to do what he did there and all of the success he's had, really, honestly, from the response on social media, just from the memes alone, that's already a net positive for him. There's crazy people out there that would try to, take that positive thing and twist it into an opportunity to destroy that person's life and the people's involved there's lives. And so pray for them, pray for that location and for everyone who made that happen, because Lord knows there's a target on their back, unfortunately. And it's sad that we live in a time, in an era where that happens so regularly, it seems. I mean, keep in mind, we're in an election cycle where one of the candidates has been shot, literally been shot in the head, survived because they turned their head at just the right moment, had another attempt against his life where, again, a weapon was actually out and pointed, and had it not been caught, could have also led to that potential worst case scenario for anyone's life. And yet we're not talking about this more. It's like, how crazy is that? It's insane. Like, the fact that the conversation is, well, he doesn't support increasing the federal minimum wage. It's like, I'm sorry, but when did our news cycle become so insane that we just gloss over the fact that the dude survived getting shot. Crazy. All right, Kincaid Rumsky. Oh no, he's here, everybody. Calm down the conversation on the Meg, please. Says, it's no longer a question of if, but when the Meg versus Godzilla. Oh, goodness. And you know what they would do? It would be the MonsterVerse Godzilla. It wouldn't even be like one I'd actually be interested in. Like if it was like Toho and everyone else involved with the production side of Godzilla Minus One. Like if it was that Godzilla and that team behind Godzilla doing a Godzilla vs. Meg, I would actually be interested in that. I would be on board. That would be a Meg movie I would be excited for. But if it's a MonsterVerse Godzilla Meg movie, nope. That just makes it worse for me. Forever Sci-Fi. This time out will be the start of my villain arc. Oh no. Laura, what have you done? What have you done? Christoph the Polish Geek at 804. I recently reviewed a game called The First Templar, with Templar as a playable character. Very unknown game. Can you please check out my review? I think you would love that game. What system is it on? You get to play as like a medieval Templar knight? Because yes, I love that. Now, if it also has aspects of faith and it does it well, that would be even better. Like a game like that where you can both be a knight, fight on the battlefield, but then have like a side quest where you have to go to a chapel and pray. Again, this is the kind of theology nerd that I am. I would be like, yes, please. And imagine if it was somehow done in conjunction with an actual like faith-based or faith-inspired team where you like actually spent time in game in prayer, but not just in game, but also like, I don't know. That's like where I would be like, it's like, wait a minute, you start like in order to win this part of the game or to complete the side quest, you have to actually pray the rosary, or you have to actually read the divine office. That's where my mind goes with that stuff. If that game existed, I'd be like, sign me up, man. Because it's both a game that you can play for fun and also you get some prayer in. It's a win-win. Abomination saying, Odin, I keep forgetting to ask, did you see Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, Andy McDowell, and Michael Keaton, and Michael Keaton? No, I did not see that. Sounds like too much Michael Keaton. I lost count of how many that while I was typing. Oh boy. That's a little too much Michael Keaton, maybe. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington saying, I love Tulsa King. It's a great show. It's a great show. All right. It's a great show. That's all I'm going to say. It's the best show out there. It's not the best show out there, but it's really good. It's really good. Rob D, did you pick up any new Halloween 4Ks? Any Halloween movies, new or old, you're going to be watching this year? Probably, I haven't picked up any Halloween-themed 4Ks. The most recent things... Oh, I can share some of this stuff. Sorry, dead air. These are some things that I've gotten recently. So, all right, look. I was going to preface this with, I know he sucks as a director and as a person for destroying Star Wars. He did have one really, really good film, though, and I still stand by it. I haven't watched it. I have not watched this in 4K yet, but I plan to. And this just got released on 4K from, unfortunately, a man named Rian Johnson. It's a film called Brick. This movie is fantastic. I remember the first time I watched it being like, man, that was fun. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in the film. I'm a huge fan of Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think he's one of my favorite actors of the modern era. He's kind of fallen off a little bit in recent years, but in general, he's been really, really solid. So I picked this one up on 4K, so that one's great. Also picked up, this came in. I have some extra copies that are in my that's eligible for my giveaways channel that I have over my Discord for my Keeper the Bifrost level members and above on the various places that I have those memberships. And that is A Quiet Place Day 1. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. In fact, I think the first Quiet Place movie is the best. This I put up there as the second best. But also, look at that. That is a beautiful steelbook. I've actually really liked the Quiet Place steelbooks. They've been really well designed. And it's been really cool to see. And then this one was actually just sent to me. So a shout out here to Universal. Universal is the one that handled the distribution on this movie. And it was a fun movie. Now, look, I don't think it was as good as the original. I think that making it was like, yeah, you didn't really need to do that. But if you're going to make the film, you might as well make it with Glenn Powell. Because Glenn Powell, he's so, like, in the words of Mugatu from Zoolander, he's so hot right now. And that's Twisters. So just got this thing on 4K. This is now actually available to purchase on 4K starting, I believe, tomorrow. So again, shout out to Universal for sending me this review copy. And yeah, this thing becomes available the 22nd. So pre-order yours now, Twisters on 4K. The movie was decent. The movie was fine. Again, I got to see this movie in theaters, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm actually more intrigued by this release to get into some of the special features behind it. It says here it's got deleted scenes, gag reel, behind-the-scenes featurettes, and more. And it's fine. It's fine. It's a decent movie. At least according to Criticalist score, for me at least. Mr. Wingster says, I got the first Templar on 360 before the marketplace went away. I will check it out. Ooh, okay. So on Xbox 360, does that mean it's playable on PC, maybe? Hector Lucero, need to watch Tulsa King, to be honest. Oh, it's really good. I would highly recommend it. For some reason, the X comments are getting doubled up for some reason. I don't know why. Hopefully, it's not doubling up on your end. If it's just on my end, I can handle it. But I hope it's not doubling up on your end, too. Let's see, the Morak. I'm enjoying both Penguin and Tulsa King. Me, too. But we'll talk more about that in a second. Abomination, I don't want a show that's realistic. That'd just be a reality TV show. That's a great point. Icthulu, you confirmed my hot take being the characters are fun, but it has no basis in reality. No crime family would survive their actions. They'd be jailed in a week. I guess it depends on what part of that you're speaking about. And also, this is, I think the most interesting thing about all of this is that it's happening in Tulsa. Now, yes, Tulsa in that area is a big city, but it's kind of like the Chattanooga area where it's like a small big city, I guess you could say. The population is not nearly as high as a New York City or as a Philadelphia or as anything like that. And so I think that they try to play up that whole, like, it's a small town, big city almost. So I think that actually works pretty effectively, where I don't have too much work to do to suspend my disbelief, because it's a show, right? It is a fictionalized show that's not trying to be a realistic take on what the mafia is going to actually be like or how that would actually play out in the real world. But instead, it's hey, this is actually a fun area, a fun city to play out these events of what happens when you have New York-style mafia coming into this local Tulsa area, getting in on the local weed game, essentially, and having these localized distributors fighting over territory, but in this small town. I think it actually works very well, to be frank. So the whole, like, oh, they'd be in jail for a week thing, it's like, I don't know. I've seen people in small towns been able to get away with a lot of things. So the argument could be, well, they never really had to in this area have had to deal with this level of crime, and so they wouldn't really know how to deal with it. So you actually have a situation where you could find a way to have it make sense in your mind. Unless you're just trying to find a way to pick it apart, in which case I cannot help you. I cannot help you. Let's see, King and Rumsky. Totally agree. I sometimes think the primaries may be even more important than the general elections. In many ways, they are. Lionheart's SJ. I saw it in theater. It was all right. Talking about the Wild Robot? Or talking about Wolfman? I assume Wolfman. It's 8:07 in the chat at the time in which I'm reading this. Orange Chat saying, the 2010 Wolfman was one of the movies that actually has a worse director's cut due to it creating a huge inconsistency with the movie. Oh, man with the orange hat speaks to this. So does that mean that the original is good and that the director's cut is garbage? Abomination. I didn't know Agent Smith was in Wolfman 2010. I didn't either. Kimberly G. Yeah, I like Tom Hardy being Venom, but the movies are kind of thin. Yep, agreed. Agreed. All right. Snow Golem. Oh, that Wolfman 2010. From the trailers and word of mouth, I passed on it. Yep, same here. Kimberly G. I'm not planning on seeing it until I see a few reviews. I always watch Odin and Jeremy Johns. Oh, thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. I assume that's speaking to Venom 3. And yeah, if I see it, I will definitely post my review over on Criticalist. Gary Banjo Sandwich saying, Meg, this one's for Odin. Man, if they somehow were able to cut that deep with it, yep. Maybe I'd see it then. Luke Zilla says, personally, will not be supporting Gunn because of all the tweets he put out and the parties he attended. One of his friends at those parties was an actual, yes. Yep. There's a lot of creepy things that some people may have forgotten. I've even forgotten some of it because I was like, I blocked this person out of my mind. Hector Lucero over on X saying, good movie. Are you talking about the 2010? Wolfman, is that what you're speaking to? It's hard to tell because the chat keeps... I have like all these posts from me that I've already posted before. I don't know why it keeps double posting. Caveat ties. Meg crossover with Megan called Meg and the E being a 3. I got it. Yes. I figured it out. Mr. Wingster. We need that Passion of the Christ 2 with Chris Tucker that Family Guy promised me. No! Abomination. They already made Meg 3. They titled it Megan. Yes, but you see, this one would just be Meg without the AN. Mr. Wingster. Val Kilmer was one of the few who didn't sing in the movie. I could have sworn he sang. Maybe he didn't sing all of his parts, but I could have sworn he sang. Abomination. Odin. Val Kilmer sang in Top Secret, or they synced him with some singer I never knew about. Interesting. Rob D. For the Son of God, you sure are a... Gary Panja sandwich. 50% Trump would spit in Kamala's milkshake. Ew. Wendy Hunter. The media machine is awful. Agreed. Gee. What's up, Gee? Sometimes called Guy. I saw the Karate Kid trailer at NYCC, and I think it takes after Cobra Kai Season 6 and might ruin the last season of Cobra Kai. You mean the trailer is going to spoil the last season, or that it's going to make it bad? I don't know what you meant by that. Jimmy A. It's sad, but I feel like we're living in a Vietnam-era political climate. Things are probably going to get worse before they get better. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can reminisce on as far as what this current climate is like. We could definitely look to Vietnam as being a part of the discussion, especially with with all of the fights on college campuses and the protests on college campuses. But it's also just so different because it's people arguing for a different country. It's not the era of fighting against war, right? That's the whole Vietnam thing, at least as someone who only has read about it, right? Who did not live or experience those times. All I can say is that from the history, it seems to indicate that it was all about trying to fight against war, which is something that I fully support. I think that war is a terrible thing and that we should strive for peace. And that I'm very pacifistic in my mindset, very non-interventionist in my mindset too. Very inspired by Ron Paul in many ways, politically, at least on that part. And of course, just through my own Christianity and Christian beliefs as well. But yeah, I would say that it's just interesting going back to that point. It's just very interesting that now this time around, the big difference is that these are people who are fighting for and cheering for something that's not even our country, who's also fighting a different country that is not even our own country. It's the weirdest thing I think I've ever seen of many of these people being American citizens who are screeching over what's happening to another country by another country that is not us. It is a bit odd. Lex Ludendi showed my grandfather The Godfather last night. Tonight, Godfather Part 2. Nice. Snow Golem Secret Service also got DEI cooked. Mr. Wingster, Odin needs some Kingdom Come deliverance for a game that respects the faith. Does it really? Mr. Wingster, are you just trolling me again? Jeremy Zakowski, speaking of Godzilla, Godzilla Minus One is returning to the big screen for 1 week to celebrate Godzilla's 70th anniversary. I saw that. I believe the minus color version also. Igloo recently saw Saturday Night, and good lord, this movie deserves all the Oscars. The character acting is beyond exceptional, probably the best in a decade. Please watch if you haven't. I have seen it, Igloo. I do not give it 5 stars. I gave it a decent rating over on Critic List. And I will be honest, the big reason to me why is because there's a very tasteless joke in the movie. And it kind of brought me out of the movie quite a bit. It really did. And the commentary there was trying to go after censors, and I thought that was probably my least favorite part of the movie. I understood what they were trying to get at, but I don't think that the joke was very tasteful. And I'm of the mindset that there are things that you shouldn't joke about. So, yeah, not a fan of that part of it, but I will agree on at least one of your points. The character acting is pretty fantastic. There are a couple that definitely come across as just very cheap impersonations, but there's others that I think do a great job of capturing the essence. The guy that did Chevy Chase, I think, may have been the best at capturing the essence of the character. But even Dylan O'Brien, we talked about this a little bit last time we mentioned Saturday Night on a previous stream. Dylan O'Brien playing Dan Aykroyd was, I think, fantastic too. Orange Chat, wait, Odin hasn't seen Multiplicity? Shame! Jeez, I'm sorry. Jimmy A. Hearing a movie with all the Michael Keatons reminds me Robert Pattinson will be starring against multiple versions of himself too. Oh, yeah. Isn't that the Boon Jong what's his name? I forget. The guy that did Parasite. Isn't that his film coming out that got delayed? I'm blanking on the name of it. Christoph, you actually use prayer to hear yourself while fighting. What? Nice. That's pretty cool. I do like the sound of that. Mr. Wingster, and thousands of Star Wars cried out in pain, and they were suddenly silenced by that name. Why did you say that name? Ryan Johnson. Ah! Guy, also in the trailer, Mr. Han said he knew Mr. Miyagi. Okay. I haven't seen it, so I can't speak to it. Wendy Hunter, sorry, I'm getting a migraine and need to leave. Wendy Hunter, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope it's not me. Gary Banjo Sandwich, keep Dwight off the lollipops. Rob D. Big question of the night. Has the wild robot officially broken even? Rob D. Brings up a great point. Let's go ahead then and take a break in the chat to talk a little bit about some of the box office. And then we'll get into official thoughts on Tulsa King and the Penguin as well. So obviously this past weekend we had, let me go ahead and put the screen up there. So over on thenumbers.com, we have some updates to the numbers. So first off, the Smile 2 release did a little bit better than initially projected, making $23 million versus $21,000. So a very small uptick there. But it does show you that the actuals that come in from the weekend do differ somewhat. But Smile 2 came in the number one spot with $23 million, a pretty solid release there. This also means that when you adjust for things like inflation, that this movie is right on pace with where the original Smile actually opened. So kudos to them. With the change in ticket price, we could argue that the first Smile did sell more tickets, but we're talking about very marginal differences here. And so, yeah, it's very rare you have a film that has such a fast turnaround. The first film came out in around 2022, so a little less than 2 years later to get the second film out there. And right now, we can say this film is on pace to make its money back. And I think that we'll probably hear about a Smile 3 being greenlit soon. And hey, as long as it keeps making people happy and keeps entertaining the fan base, make another one. I always would say 3 probably is more than enough. I thought the first Smile film was fine. I'm not a horror fan, and so I'm surprised I even got through that movie because it was pretty creepy for me. I also heard a lot of criticism about the first Smile, as a lot of people did not like how it used jump scares and felt like it was very much borrowing from other films that may have done certain elements a bit better. That being said, we can't deny the reality that the film financially is doing very well. Now let's talk a little bit about, we spent a lot of time on the channel mentioning the Terrifier 3 news. Obviously, this film is doing phenomenally well. There's just no going against that. Beetlejuice also doing phenomenally well there too. But The Wild Robot, all right. So there's been a couple people in my comment section that have been like, I can't believe that you think The Wild Robot is doing so well when it hasn't broken even and it probably won't. And here I am just sitting by myself and thinking, like, you're just not hearing the words coming out of my mouth. You don't actually hear the words that I say. Because if you did, you would know I consistently say this film has not broken even. And there's a chance that the film may not break even. However, based on how it's tracking, I think personally it's very likely to break even and also to make a decent amount of profit. Again, a small amount theatrically, but I'm also thinking long term about how this film was already on VOD. It's going to be doing pretty well on VOD, I'll just say right now. It's the kind of movie that I think a lot of people will get drawn to in that way. When it eventually gets put out on streaming, when it eventually gets the rights internationally get sold, I think it has a good chance to have a very long shelf life because the film really is quite refreshing. There aren't a lot of times we get animated movies that are able to stand on their own. It is adapted from a novel. It is adapted from a book, but it's like one of the first times that we've had a film animated be as good as it is, and also at the same time not be the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth installment in a massive franchise. On top of that, you have an animation style used throughout the movie that's very unique to the film, very unique to the story that was being told, and I think was able to really add to the quality of the film overall. So as of right now, the film has made around $196 million. So it's not broken $200 million worldwide, but it's going to. And here's the thing that some people just did not get, right? I use the expression that this film is going to be a chart breaker. Now, first off, here's my chart. I love charts here. We love charts here on OMB Reviews, as I always like to say, right? And so when I speak about things being chart breaking, what I mean is according to my chart. Because the vast majority of movies, as they release, okay, in the course of their release, tend to make between 70 and 50% of their entire box office in their first 2 weeks of release. So what I mean is that usually, on average, a film will double its money after 2 weeks or will fall off a cliff, and therefore the first 2 weeks will account for only 70%, or rather will count upwards to 70% of the entirety of that release. Now, this is the average. This is where most movies end up falling, right? And so therefore, are there films that will make a lot more than double their box office over, compared to the first 2 weeks? Absolutely. Will there be some films that make a lot less than the 70% number here I have as a minimum number? Yes, absolutely. I call both of those types of movies chart breakers. There's a chart breaker in the positive and a chart breaker in the negative. There's chart breakers that make a lot more than anticipated. There's films that make a lot less than anticipated. In the case of Wild Robot, the maximum I had for this movie after the first 2 weeks, it had made over $100 million after the first 2 weeks, which means that if it was to double its money in a best case scenario, based on the averages, of course, that would mean the best case average score would be around $200 million worldwide. As I just told you, this film is very close to getting to $200 million, and this film is still very young. It still has a lot of life left, both domestically and internationally. So this film will cross $200 million this week, which means, guess what? Ring, ding, ding. That would mean it is literally a chart breaker because it would have made more than double its entire box office. To get this point further across, here are the actual percentages. So these are the first 2 weeks in comparison to what the current box office is. Now, some of these numbers are going to be a lot higher because the films have just come out, but also there are many films that will do better or worse compared to the average. So for instance, if you look at a film like The Substance as an independent film, it makes sense then that this movie has actually, in many ways, almost tripled its box office since its first couple weeks. This makes a lot of sense to me because it is just that kind of movie. I was actually surprised to see the number here that apparently Never Let Go also was able to not necessarily triple, but almost triple its box office since its first 2 weeks of release. So, hey, kudos to them. Slow start there, but seemingly held pretty strong and still making some money. Not likely going to make its money back as it's still about $20 million in the red, but hey, that's the kind of money that you could potentially make back up on VOD sales and eventually on streaming as well. But if you go all the way down here to the bottom, see, these are all the films that have released just in 2023. If we take just the 2023 numbers, look what the average percentage is. Oh, look at that, 62%. So, what is my average score? 60%, with the range of that average typically being between 50 and 70%. So this is, again, the first 2 weeks compared to the final, or right now, total current box office. So, as you can see, there have been films like Kung Fu Panda 4, which actually did have quite good legs, was able to get to and reach the heights of around 32%, so almost tripling its box office. Dune Part 2 also had very good legs, almost doubled its box office, right? But if you go up this chart, you'll notice most films are going to fall between that 50 and 70% number. Now, keep in mind, I have a couple of newer films here, which have numbers like 96% to 100%. So if I take those newer films out, let's see how much that changes it. Look at that, 61.29. All right, let's go ahead and take off these other two here, right, of 86 and 88%. And let's see what that does there. Look at that, 60.4. The point of that is to say, on average, most films tend to make around or between 50 and 70% of their entire box office globally in their first 2 weeks. And as of right now, The Wild Robot is at 51.23%. Very soon, it will drop into the 40s. And because of that, this film will indeed factually be a chart breaker. And yes, indeed, it's still $24 million in the red. But with how much money it's made and with how much money it is still likely to make, I would suspect that by the end of its run, it will indeed be in the black, or at least close enough to the black to where it'll be easy to argue the film make its money back in the VOD sales and physical media sales as well. So, those are my thoughts on The Wild Robot and why the film actually is indeed on the brink of chart breaking, and that even if that means financially speaking, it's not a massive box office hit, it's still very impressive. Most films do not chart break in the positive direction. Most films do not double their box office, or more than double, I should say, their box office after their first 2 weeks. It's only the films that have very positive word of mouth or have a very interesting release schedule, as is also the case in the film like A Substance, where these things start to happen. Anyway, what say you guys? Christoph, the Polish Geek, tagged to say, The First Templar is on Steam. Very cool. I will maybe check that out. Let's see, the First Templar on Steam. On Steam? Is that how you pronounce it? Steam? I don't know why I'm talking that. That makes no sense. Heartbreak Rage. Speaking of fun TV, I greatly enjoyed Bad Monkey and the latest season of Slow Horses on Apple. Interesting. King and Rumsky. I haven't seen Tulsa King yet, but I'm going to give it a pre-rating of 51%. How dare you, King and Rumsky? You disgust me with your Meg obsession. And you're getting so close to that 50% number that has haunted my dreams by Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington. And I'm offended by your existence and presence. Luke Zilla. Meg 3 was announced by the author, but I guess now they are moving ahead with it moving ahead with it much faster. Interesting. Very interesting. Guy. I'm saying that it looks like the Daniel won't retire after last season and still wants to do karate after all the Cobra Kai drama. Is that really much of a spoiler, though? I mean, here's the thing, dude. No one's really watching Cobra Kai thinking, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen. People watch Cobra Kai because, like, man, these characters are fun. Man, I can't wait to see the next fight. Yes, there are some fun twists and turns in there, but no one's really watching it for those. So it's like that's kind of that's not really a big issue. Heartbreak Ridge saying, as tasteless as that joke in Saturday Night is, from listening to Paul Chato, it sounds very in character for that SNL writer. Shout out to Paul Chato. Funny guy. Really always cool to talk to him. We were able to, it was me, was it Valiant Renegade, and WW Pro, and, or maybe Valiant Renegade wasn't there. No, it was W Pro, or Pro, I should just say. And then it was the Force of Light girl. Shout out to Force of Light Entertainment. Natalie and Michelle, amazing people. And I can't remember who was fully there, but we had dinner, and it was a lot of fun. And Paul Chato was there, and it was just fun listening to his conversations. So shout out to him. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's not accurate. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying having that joke in the movie still means that joke is in the movie, and it's still tasteless. So I still hold to that. Let's see. Gary Banjo Sandwich, Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho. That's what it is. Thank you. Yeah, that's actually one I'm intrigued by. Guillermo Gage. Hey, Odin, last week you heard a person called For Your Mama say he or she hadn't seen a new movie since Alita Battle Angel. I abbreviated as FYM and you didn't understand. Okay. Christoph the Polish Geek. 4 favorite villains: Darth Vader, Saruman the White, Davy Jones, and the Joker. Pick yours. You put me on the spot, Christoph. I don't like being put on the spot like that, dude. I mean, Vader's got to be up there for sure. I'll go obscure. I did mention this movie earlier, though. Frollo from Hunchback. Talk about an evil dude. Frollo. Look at his story. Has one of the best songs ever written. Dark fire, hellfire. This fire in my skin. Oh, so good. They did actually, it wasn't abroad. I don't think I ever got to Broadway, but it was like maybe West End, off-Broadway. But they have a stage production of the show. And the music for that is also incredible. There's a great song that Quasimodo sings in the musical version, which I think is called Like Stone. Look it up. It's phenomenal. And the guy that they get to sing it is great too. Guillermo Gage saying here, I had said that it is odd to follow the box office and not watch a movie for 5 years, not just in theaters, but overall, I think. I don't see why this is important, Guillermo Gage. It doesn't seem like something worth bringing back up again. Just might as well just leave that there. Because I don't even really, I remember what you're saying, but it's not really important. Nomination, Joker 1 was a chart breaker, and the positive, Joker 2 was a chart breaker in the negative, pretty much, yeah. Now, Joker 2019 came out before I had the chart I have now, and so I don't think I might have those numbers that I could actually look back and see what that percentage was. But yes, I think there's no doubt about it, or to see what the exact percentage was. But I could say right now, based off just a guesstimate, yeah, that film made well over twice its budget. Made well over twice the box office after the first 2 weeks of release, especially with those international numbers coming in. Let's see. Bruce is lurking very creepy. So creepy. Kimberly G, good night. Have a great week. You have a great week as well. Thanks for being here. King and Rumsky, I don't know if I trust those box office numbers. They seem a bit puffed up. I see what you did there, okay? I pick up the context clues, all right? I'm sorry. I talked about the math before talking about how...
to see a real mathematician at work.
There it is, okay? I did you wrong, okay? I made a mistake, and there's only one thing I can say to that.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. Shout out to Stella, a very short-lived but still very hilarious show before Michael Ian Black became an insane person with TDS. All right. Let us see where we are. Rob D, do you think Joker 2 will drop out of the top 10 by this coming weekend? Yeah, I would say there's a strong chance. Pretty strong chance, I would say. Let me pull up the chart again. Let's see. It dropped to the number 7 spots this past weekend, and it's been dropping. Dropped number 6 spot from the number 4 spot, and it was a 70% drop from the previous week, which was already, and it's being pulled from so many theaters. Yeah, dude. I could easily see it dropping out top 10. Maybe it gets that number 9 or 10 spot, but ooh, yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Lex Ludende, Frollo's song is great in several languages. Ooh, yes. I think I remember seeing videos which have that song in the different languages. The best language of all, of course, though, is the choir in the background singing Latin. Mea culpa, mea culpa. So good. Orange Hats. I happen to be one of those who want the story to be good in Cobra Kai. It is why I am critical of it in certain areas. And again, I respect that. But I'm not saying that the story isn't good. I'm saying we don't watch it for... I didn't say we didn't watch it for the story. I just want to be very clear on this. I was saying we don't watch it for the twists and turns, right? Because there's some shows that are built upon, ooh, what's the big twist this week? That's not really what Cobra Kai is about. So I think the writing has been excellent for the show. And the writing has been very, very good. But the writing has not been one where it's like, oh man, if you find out what happened, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. That's what a true spoiler is. A true spoiler, unlike what Mr. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington might think, a true spoiler is something where it's a plot point that if you know about it in advance, will destroy your enjoyment of the show. Cobra Kai doesn't really have a lot of those moments. Sure, there's moments where if you just experience it raw for the first time without having that knowledge, it might be more entertaining, but even if you know about it, it's still entertaining. So that's the big difference for me. Orange Hat saying, never liked Cobra Kai's premise of Johnny being sour for all the years later. It doesn't make sense. He gave LaRusso the trophy and respect. He accepted the loss. But I think they did a great job explaining it. Just the fact that it was after that moment that his whole life got turned around. So yes, he had that change in the movie. And I think that there's a good point to be made that they should have probably instead respected that character arc and allowed for him to go on to be a good person. But I do think that it does lay the groundwork for what they do try to build into the show and why he would therefore be bitter against him, because his whole life gets turned around after that moment. His whole life essentially gets ruined from that one moment. And so I think I could see why over time it's not something where it's completely outside of the realm of possibility is what I'm trying to say. Let's see. Jose Taco, what is going on? Hail to you, good sir. Let's see. Abomination, more like before Michael Ian Black stopped holding back his insanity. Could be. Orange Chat, final bit, Season 6 better have a good continuation because that twist at the end of Part 1 of Season 6 made no sense. It's not that it made no sense. In fact, everyone, I think, saw it coming. It was a very predictable twist. I think it means by what you mean by it makes no sense. Like, if we mean how is it that this person could be brought on in such a quick turnaround for a tournament that is to such a high degree as it is, but then you have to think about the relationship between her and between the sensei, and trying to speak in vague tongues, even though this has been out for long enough to where if you have not seen it or caught up with it at this point, I can't really protect you from spoilers. But I think, yeah, again, it's one of those things where it makes sense. It can absolutely make sense. It may not be the best, but it makes sense. Christoph says, you did a great imitation of Frollo. Gotta go. Glad to catch up. Glad to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. Grabthar's Hammer. How goes it? Just got in. Well, hey, welcome, Grabthar's Hammer. Lexo Dendi, but there's a video out there that translated the whole song into Latin, although my favorite is it in French, thus the most fitting. Ah, nice. King and Rumsky. Ah, that's the stuff. Hector Lucero laughing. Father Miller, hail to you, Father. Ahoy, got a few minutes free, so I had to pop on. What's up, Father Miller? Mondays don't work well for me. Okay. I love you, Father. By the way, you should check out that link I sent you a long time ago about learning the Latin Mass. You can do it for free. So that way you can be the official chaplain whenever we are in the same place. Anyway, Orange Hat saying, you make a good point there. I'm glad to hear it. And again, I think that there are so many, typically when it comes to, and this is why I love this stuff, right? It's nerd stuff, right? Because a lot of people have valid points when it comes to this stuff. But yeah, I hope it made sense, whether you agree or not. Guillermo Gage, wow, that was an obscure Puffs inside reference. It's what we've been using now for a long time. Gary Banjo saying, true spoiler, as a person who went to university and college for media and acted in stage plays, is anything from the plot, including hints and suggestions of what to come in the production. You know what I mean, Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington. You know what I mean. And yes, one could argue that it is revealing parts of the story and plot, but no, spoilers, the reason why it's called a spoiler is because it spoils your enjoyment. So if it's not something that's going to spoil your enjoyment, it by the very definition is not a spoiler. Am I talking to a shadow here, Gary? We wouldn't call them spoilers unless that was the actual case. And so no, even though you tried to lay out a very clear definition of, I guess, me in that description, you would still be incorrect. Because again, definitions matter, terms matter, and spoiler, as we've clearly laid out here, is all about destroying your enjoyment of a content or ruining your enjoyment of content. Therefore, if it does not do that, it is not a spoiler. So therefore, all of the reviews that you've posted on Criticlist with your little spoiler warning aren't actually spoilers. Hot take of the night from me. Father saying, ouch. Anyway, I'm reading up on history of the church for class. Nice. Very nice. Abomination. My favorite twist when we found out the chicken was actually a baby and he misremembered the annoyingly loud chicken. What? That's obscure. Gary Banjo saying, Odin is our Charlie Chaplin. What is that supposed to mean? What are you trying to say, huh? What are you trying to say by that? Frollo, a French only live one. That was good. Guillermo Gage, so the Conclave ending is not a spoiler. Oh, no, that is a spoiler. That absolutely is a spoiler. Because that is a key plot element that is being built up to in the story that no one knows about until the end. And so it does absolutely... So that was a movie that I probably would have been enjoying up until that point. In fact, I would say that's the definition, that's like a secondary definition of spoiler, is when a part of the story ruins the movie. It spoils the movie. It destroys it. Oh, man. So no, that would be a spoiler for sure, too. All right. Let us see. Guillermo Gage saying, tee-hee. Oh, tee-hee. Oh, tee-hee. How dare you? Lester Denny, back when I was in seminary, we had a TLM program. That's the way it should be. That is the way it should be. Luke Zilla, thoughts on the positive reactions to Gladiator 2 and box office theory predictions for both Gladiator 2 and Wicked. I'm excited. I'm happy to hear good things about Gladiator. I want good movies. I want Ridley Scott to make good movies again. So if this is his return to form, if this is his final hurrah in the movie space for making good films, I will be all down for it. If the film is good, I cannot wait to see it. I'll probably wait for people like Jeremy Johns and Critical Drinker. If they have early reviews before the film is out, I would love to hear their thoughts on that. Otherwise, I do intend to see it. And I'll be intrigued by how good or how bad it might actually be. Box office series predictions on that film sound about right to me. I would not be surprised if, based off of the positive reactions to the film, we might be able to see those numbers tick up a little bit more. So there's definitely a possibility there. But as far as Wicked's box office, this is a very tough one to crack. Okay, I know that on FNT, for instance, we've talked about this before, and Ryan RK Outpost has mentioned that it's definitely not a film to sleep on, and I would agree with that assessment. This is not a film. Wicked Part 1, and that's the thing that we have to remind people too. It is a Part 1. They're not really promoting it as that in that way, right? It's just Wicked, but it is Wicked Part 1. We know that there are times when the first part of a two-part story doesn't do as well. I think the marketing has been pretty effective because, as I said, it's been mostly just promoted as Wicked rather than Wicked Part 1, right? So I definitely think that that could have an impact. The reaction, too, that the star who plays Elphaba in the film, who plays the Wicked Witch of the West, the fact that she's just gone off on the fans complaining about the making of this fan poster, which is just a simple homage to the original playbill, the original poster from the Broadway play, is ridiculous. And that's going to turn a lot of people off from seeing it. But what I have personally seen is I think many more people who already had no interest in watching it are typically the ones I see talking about that news and complaining about it. And so I think that it could be a bit of fool's gold there as far as what we think is going to happen, okay? Because if I had to guess, if I had to place bets, and I'm not a betting man because I don't do well with those. I had to eat pineapple pizza once and it was not good. But if I had to guess about Wicked's box office, I would say it's going to be pretty good. I don't know if it's going to be as high as what Box Office Theory has it currently at, but I do think it could do well. The thing you have to remember for Wicked is that it's a massive IP, but it's specifically a massive IP amongst theater nerds. Now, theater nerds can be a very powerful group when compelled, but they can also be a very fickle lot. We think about how West Side Story remake did. That film bombed, mostly because of its massive budget, but it still bombed nonetheless. We think about Cats. Now, this was an abomination of a film, also bombed. Whether that's more of it being an abomination or it also being a musical that did not have people in that musical theater community show up for, could be the case. I see two scenarios playing out when it comes to Wicked. One scenario is that it is a massive success. That Wicked ends up being the Spider-Man No Way Home of the theater community. So remember when Spider-Man No Way Home came out, everyone had already been writing off the box office. They said the box office is dead. No one's going to see movies anymore. Everyone's scared, terrified. The box office is done, right? The week before, you had the West Side Story remake come out, and all the excuses were, well, it's COVID, and so therefore it's not doing well. And then what happened? Spider-Man No Way Home came out and ate everybody's lunch and showed everyone, guess what? Yeah, people do still want to go to the movies. People do still see these movies. People will brave the elements, go into the face of battle against illnesses, overblown in many ways, and will go see movies again. And sure enough, that was indeed the case, and it broke a dam in many ways. Now, not every film even since then has been a success, but the films that have driven people out, have intrigued the minds of some, have gotten the positive word of mouth that films now need more than ever before. We've seen that happen. We've seen these films do some things that previously had not been thought. That could be what Wicked does. Wicked Part 1 could be that, but for the musical theater community. It could be the breaking through of the musical genre, which we really have not seen, especially in the modern history of musicals being released. They're just a very difficult genre to get out there because even though you have a very passionate fan base, they're, one, very hard to motivate, and two, still a lot smaller in comparison to the typical normal audience. With Wicked, though, you do have a massive, not just hardcore fan base, but you also have that normie audience, right? So many people have seen Wicked. Whether it's the touring cast, whether it's the Broadway cast, whatever version it is, there's been a lot. It's been around for a long time now as well. So that is going to pique the interest, especially of women, mothers bringing their daughters to see it. I think is going to be a huge demographic. Think about Barbie, how Barbie was able to motivate people, even though the film was not good, even though the film had a lot of garbage messaging in it, it still was able to drive out that female demographic. So that's something that this film has working for it, is that it does have some of that appeal. The Ariana Grande casting, for instance, as Glinda. I think that is going to probably appeal a lot more to that demographic than anything that's being done by this bozo who has been cast as the lead actress in the movie. So I think there's a lot higher chance that happens. But there is a secondary scenario, which is that, no, this is still a very small niche fan base. And though they are very passionate, they are still limited. And the actions and words of the star have tainted the waters. This film has gone through production hell. This film has been in development for like a decade plus. And now it's just getting put forward. The total cost of the entire film was over $300 million when you take both part 1 and 2. Part 1 we get this year, part 2 we get next year. I think they filmed them around the same time, and so we really have to look at this as being a singular $300 million project, broken up into 2. So that means that really the key point for this movie is going to be probably about $1 billion. If both films together combined make over $1 billion, then this film will be a success. So this film needs to make about $500 million worldwide. Will it make that amount? I don't know. Will it flop? Maybe. Too early to tell at this point. More money, I would say, worth putting on the film being a success than a flop, but you never know. The ship sinking in the Titanic is not a spoiler. It's a fair point. But that's also a matter of history, and so there's a difference there too. Lex Ludendi, you can't spoil Conclave. You defined it as something that would spoil the enjoyment. There's no enjoying that film. Oh, you caught me on a technicality, Lex Ludendi. Gary Bender saying, spoiler to come on Criticless. How dare you? Jimmy A. Guys, we all remember the end of Conclave is when Mr. Beast becomes the Pope and forces everyone to eat his new fake Lunchables. Oh, good grief. No. The end of Conclave is when his former or current employee does whatever weird stuff he does on Discord. Anyway, Guillermo Gage. Kincaid saying Puffed Up was a subtle Puffs reference. Apparently, it was. I picked up on it. And that was also a long time ago. Where you been, dude? Rob D, since you care about media preservation, what do you think the archives of the Catholic Church is like? How far back do you think it goes? Oh, man, first century. Maybe even has copies of the Septuagint going back into the early times BC. Or I should say late times BC. Right? Within the first couple decades, potentially. But yeah. Oh, man. Probably a lot of stuff there. Gary Bender saying, what ideas do you have for your FNT costume? Any spoilers? Oof. I'm terrible with costumes because I typically don't dress up for anything. I've dressed up last year. I just put a random combination of things together. I have my Wookiee onesie, which is my go-to whenever I need something. I might ask my wife to help because I'm not good at that stuff. I don't like I'm not a person that likes dressing up. Snowcomb 13. Mark Say from watching Gladiator 2 or Wicked. I think that Gladiator 2 has some potential. Abomination, part 1 of anything should just be its own contained thing, not even referenced as part 1. They should just call it itself, and part 2 is just a sequel which jumps off the loose ends after the closure of the first movie. Well, there you go. Cthulhu, how do those theater nerds get drawn to see Into the Woods? Enjoyed it, but not going to pull Barbie numbers. No, I again, when I said Barbie, I didn't mean it's going to make $1 billion. By that, I mean that audience that went to go out in droves to see Barbie, there's going to be some crossover with Wicked, I would say. It has that same potential appeal, just not to the same level. No way. No way. Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about, because we've kind of been talking a little bit about Tulsa King and Penguin throughout the show, but we are having to wrap things up because I don't want to go too much over time tonight. I don't want to step on the toes of the great mod, the man with the orange hat, because I try to be nice. Try to be nice. And let's talk about it. So first off, Tulsa King has been fantastic. I don't care what Cthulhu says. I don't care what anyone else says. The show has been solid. The first season was solid. I honestly think the only criticism I had of the first season was there was some sexual things that happened within the first couple of episodes, I think, between the character of Dwight Manfredi, played brilliantly by Sylvester Stallone. You can just tell that Stallone's having so much fun with the character. And if he's not really having it, if that's just a pure act, well, then even better, because it means he's acting very well. But it just honestly looks like he's having a lot of fun. And everyone in the cast looks like they're having a blast. And just by proxy, the audience has fun with it too. I know that I've had a lot of fun with it. And yeah, I think that season 2 also in many ways is a lot better than season 1. Because they were able to establish those characters early on over in season 1. This season has really just been, all right, characters, go and play. Let's put you in this situation and let's see what happens. And it's worked out to great effect. There's a brilliant sequence that happened last episode, I think it was episode 4, where there's a fight at a wind farm. And the song choice was just choice. It was honestly, the choice itself was choice. Yes, indeed. I will use that term twice over. It was great. It was solid. It was fun. It's one of those moments where you're just like, okay, all right, I see what you're doing here. And you just enjoy yourself. So shout out to them. It's a great show. I gave it right now an 80% most excellent score for the entire series. I cannot wait. I know it's coming very soon over on Critic List to be able to break things down at least by season. But this current season has been really, really good. As I put here over my review, the first season was solid, though the sexual stuff in the beginning was just not needed. The second season has been even better in many ways. Great characters and actors playing them make it so much fun to watch. It's oddly mesmerizing, and I really do hold to that there's just something about the show that I just enjoy going back to it. Is it the best show that I've ever seen? No. Is it the top 10 shows I've ever seen? No. But is it a show that I look forward to watching every single week because it's fun? Abso-freaking-lutely. So, would definitely recommend Tulsa King. A lot of fun. Not for the faint of heart. Some violence, some language, of course, in the show. Luckily, no real political bias. And ultimately, it is a lot of entertainment value as well. And if you care about entertainment value, this show has got it. And has got it in droves. And over on Critic List, if we go down here, you'll see it has indeed been given by 2 of the voters a lot of entertainment value. It's also one where the cast, seriously, like Martin Starr as Lawrence, as Bodie, is great. Jay Will as Tyson, phenomenal. Just, again, so much fun. Frank Grillo is in the show. I always forget it's Frank Grillo in the show. But he has a great supporting part in that, too. So, highly recommend Tulsa King. And then The Penguin. This is a show that really has just broken onto the scene in many ways. I was not a big fan of the Batman movie. I thought that the ending of the film, what they did with the Riddler, was awful. Turning him into this alt-right guy of, hey guys, so thanks for supporting me. So stupid. But the best part of that movie, in my opinion, was, without a doubt, Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Because you just couldn't believe it was Colin Farrell. Not only was the makeup design on his character so brilliant, but his performance, you just couldn't even tell. Now, as someone who is a big fan of Colin Farrell, I can actually see Colin Farrell break through a few times. There's just certain mannerisms he has, certain looks that he has, because it still is him at the end of the day, underneath quite a bit of makeup. But still, kudos to the makeup and effects team for doing that. But this show, honestly, has surprised me. When it was first announced, I thought, oh, it's the same, it's supposed to be the same look and feel as the Batman. If it's going to be anything like the Batman, it's going to be a disappointment. So far, we have been, given several episodes. I think there might be only, 2 episodes left at this point? And it's just been fantastic. And one of the best parts of this show has been how it is not only setting up what is currently happening in the show, but it's had a couple of episodes that have been able to dedicate time to developing characters like Sophia Falcone. Just fantastic. Kristen Milioti is a brilliant actress. She is killing it in this role. And the most recent episode where we get a bit more on her backstory has been great. Now seeing her take on the role of being a mob boss also has been really, really cool to see. Having that backstory on the character of Victor, fantastic. Glad to see where he comes from, what's motivated him, how he's being impacted, why he's making the choices that he's making when it comes to the character of Oz. How Oz, and one of the cool things about this episode, no spoilers, real spoilers here, no spoilers, but where the last episode ends as far as location, you're just like, okay, now we're getting somewhere as far as some character development for the character of Penguin. And it was, again, fun to see and fun to watch. And so in both the case of Penguin and of Tulsa King, you have 2 very entertaining shows for very, very, very different reasons. I think Tulsa King is much more of it says crime drama. It's a bit more of a comedy too. It's like kind of got a crime dramedy thing going on. Penguin is much more of a drama. There's some funny elements in there, but much more drama oriented. And this recently just got 10 voters on Critic List. So this is now officially most excellent over on Critic List. So not only shout out to Critic List, but also to the Penguin. Phenomenal show. Highly, highly recommend it. And let's get some last comments in before we wrap up for the evening. And again, Orange Chat, thank you for being here. Snorboob is saying, take care, every human. Every human. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Let's see. There is the random list of X posts that have been popping up for some reason. I don't really know why. Oh man. All right, caveat ties. They needed to end Batman right after Riddler's arrest. Yeah, even then it was starting to go downhill a little bit, but yeah, the whole reveal of Riddler was definitely bad. I would say that the moment they have the whole alt-right thing, it got just garbage tier. I do think, though, that one of the scenes that probably makes a lot of people cringe, which is, Robert Pattinson as Pattinson, like, be like, what did you do? What did you do? Not a very good thing. I don't think that was a good performance in that moment. I was like, that's not a good Batman for me. All right. But the thing that even a lot of the kids, like high school age kids who have seen it, they still will quote this scene because they'll just randomly out of nowhere go like, it's all from that performance, of course, given by Paul freaking Dano. That was also, I think, a reason why I hated the film, because Paul freaking Dano's in it, and they just waste his performance. They waste his performance. It truly is. It's sad. It makes me very sad because I love Paul freaking Dano. He's Paul freaking Dano, man. All right. Let's see some last comments. Oh, these X things. Gary Banjo Sandwich saying, Odin, my secret underground lair. Oh, no. He's plotting. I can see he's plotting. Forever Sci-Fi, I still haven't watched The Batman. You're really not missing anything, dude. Now, I would say it's worth seeing only really to see the characterization of and development of the Penguin. I'm sure there's a cut out there of just the Penguin scenes now on on YouTube. I would watch that just to get that performance in, and then start watching Penguin because it's fantastic. It really is. But anyway, that's going to be it for me tonight, everybody. So thank you to Westfield60 for earlier donating that $10. No message attached to it, but seriously, dude, it's always appreciated when that support comes in. Definitely helps keep the lights on and helps to be able to provide for money for future giveaways and things of that sort. So with all that being said, thank y'all again for watching Cthulhu. Wish you and chat a great evening. You too as well at Cthulhu, even though your take on Tulsa King is a bad one. It's a great show. I don't care what Cthulhu says. It's a great show. It's a great show, all right? It's phenomenal. It's great. It's worth watching. But it is great. I do think it is fun, and I think most people, not everybody, but most people, except for Cthulhu, most people enjoy it. Hector Sarah, thanks for hanging out over on X tonight. Appreciate your presence over there. And let's see. Cthulhu, have a good night. Jimmy A, have a good night. Rob D, have a good night. Snow Golem 13, have a good night. Mr. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington, have a good night as well. Abomination over on Odyssey, of course. Have a good night. Let us see what plotting Mr. Banjo Sandwich has over there. Oh boy, he's leaving comments. Penguin is awesome. Yes. Agreed. Oh boy, he's got some new reviews. Project Silence, 71%. He has a spoiler warning. When a bridge crash causes a pileup, then a transport of killer defective dogs is let loose to cause mayhem. That's just basic trailer stuff. No spoilers there. A father and daughter, plus a few others have to survive not only the dogs, but the collapsing bridge. Crazy trucker con man comes to rescue after discovering his caring side. An action-packed drama from Korea. Yeah, that's what you see below the poster for a movie. There's no spoilers there. So get that spoiler warning off of that. It's garbage. Carve, 71%. Is that your new score? Spoilers. Schlock Horror's freaky-looking pumpkin is a carver killer. It's a movie called Carved. Local fair, all who carve must die in the most sick and bloody fashion. A dodgy but fun tentacle slaughter fest. Can our heroes kill the maniac murder fruit? Spoiler, they do. Look at that. An actual spoiler, but also, is it really a spoiler? It's called Carved. I imagine that you're going to have a fight. I do appreciate that being thrown in there. Of an actual spoiler in your spoiler section. Anyway, I love you guys. You guys are phenomenal. Let's say a final good night to Forever Sci-Fi, Snowgom 13, Caveat Ties, Jimmy A, Luke Zilla, Jimmy A, Cthulhu, Forever Sci-Fi. You guys are awesome. Anyway, thank you all again for being here tonight. This has been a lot of fun as always. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. I see you, Gary. And as always, God bless. All right, I boomered that and messed that up. I pressed the wrong button, so let's try that again. Have a wonderful rest of your night, everybody. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illich and Miss Martin Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Martin Muses. Also to my Subscribe Star people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And also to the K-Man. Check out his website, xtheboundaries.co. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy. Shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started. And also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.